Alright guys, we're back with another video. Now this time we have a Ducati 848 Evo going in the garage. This thing, as you can tell, is pretty beat up, but I think it's going to be fixable, and I think it's going to be a pretty fun project as long as we can get it going. So as you can tell, the front end pretty much took most of the damage on this bike. The plastics around pretty much everything was busted, but there was some carbon fiber bits here and there that did make it a little bit more of a plus. So I wanted to go ahead and get this thing cleaned up before I brought it in, just to see what it had and what it's overall going to need, and then see if we can get it running, because the guy said the engine was good, but you never really know. So let's go ahead and put a new battery and see what we can do. Alright, so after we got it running, it was time to jump into all the other stuff, knowing that I can now put time into it and it'd actually be worth it. So the whole front end of this bike was pretty much gone. The headlight fairing, the headlight itself, and pretty much everything involved with it. So I wanted to go ahead and move around and just show everything that's going to need to be replaced. As you can see, the fork unfortunately was busted at the bottom, so that's going to need to be replaced. The wheel was very bent, so that's going to be out of here. The clip-ons had some damage here and there, and I would prefer to just swap those over just because they're not very expensive and it looks better. The hand controls here were completely missing, basically half of it. This whole side of the plastics was pretty banged up, and I wanted to go ahead and just do a custom livery on it anyway. The back had some pieces missing, so pretty much the entire fairings around the entire bike needed to be replaced, along with some of the fundamentals such as the headlight and wheel and things like that. So let's go ahead and get all this stuff off and get to work. Okay, now that this little piece was off, I figured it was a good time to show this. So as you can see, the handlebars of the bike are straight and the wheel is turned to the left. Pretty much the same thing that happens when you're a kid and you hit a curb on your bicycle and you gotta put your feet in between the tire and turn your handlebars straight. I wish it was that easy on a Ducati, but it's not. So I needed to go ahead and take off all of these plastics on the side of the bike and see what was actually causing this. The only reason I was hesitant on buying this bike was because of that, and seeing that the frame stem was okay. I figured it was something to do with the wheel or the triple clamp. So let's go ahead and take all this stuff off and get to it.
Music is meditation for the soul. For the soul.
Okay, now that we finally have all that stuff out of the way, we can get the lower triple clamp off, and this was my main culprit. So as you can see right here, the right side is a little bit lower than the left side, and this was what was causing the forks to be misaligned and causing the shift and the front wheel a little bit off to the left. So I ordered up some new parts from a guy parting out at $10.98, and I got some ASV levers, some foldable like Rizoma style mirrors, a new chain, new clip-ons, of course new forks and new wheel. and the lower triple clamp. So I want to go ahead and put all these new parts on, along with replacing some of the wiring that was kind of shaved or chopped off when either someone ripped off the headlight or when the headlight was ripped off in the crash. So quick little solder up with some new plugs, and we'll be back in no time.
Is meditation for the soul.
After all that work, it was a little bit of a sigh of relief to see that the forks lined up straight just as they should. And these are off a 1098, so they have the black bottom, which I think just looks a little bit better. So let's move on to the next thing and get this thing going. Now that we had the majority of the fundamental pieces in the front end done, I figured it was a good stopping point to save all the other little bits and pieces and all the plastics for the next part, where we can get this thing back on the road again. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.